Mornings with Kaye Adams on BBC Radio Scotland.
Diversity is a big buzzword, particularly in the workplace these days. A general acceptance that we do need to see people of both genders, of all ages, creeds and colours and sexuality represented in public life and on TV and film. The reality doesn't always match up to the rhetoric, though. And yesterday at the British Film Institute, documentary maker Jacquie Lawrence posed the question, where are the lesbians? Well, to discuss this, Jacquie is with us, TV producer and commissioning editor and author of Different for Girls, and Dr. Leanne Dawson, who's a lecturer in film and German studies at Edinburgh University. Good morning, Jacquie and Leanne.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Jacquie, do we have a dearth of lesbians?
On television we do, Kay, we do. There's two issues. The first is that there is a lack of lesbian drama, and that's a lack of drama that deals with significant lesbian content. If I tell you, and we're on the BBC, so we can talk about the BBC, that there were 20 years between Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, which went out in 1990, and Lip Service, which went out in 2010. So do we have to wait for another 20 years for the next lesbian drama? The other issue is that, yes, lesbian characters are bleeding into, for want of a better word, straight programming. So you do have lesbian characters in the soaps and on drama series and drama serials, but they're not as rounded as straight characters. And also, they do fall foul to what we call the lesbian death cliché, which I prefer to call the lesbian roadkill, because they're often killed in road accidents. And so I think there are two issues here. It's great that we do see lesbian characters in mainstream drama, but I really do think that the scriptwriters and the television executives and commissioners have to work hard to give these lesbians richer stories. Lesbians are now, because of changes in fertility laws, in marital laws, in family laws, they're getting married now. We're having children now. We're getting divorced. Some of us have mistresses, not me personally, but they are richer stories.
That was very quick, too quick, Jacquie, I think.
Stories anymore.
I mean, well, why do you think it is important? I mean, the other side of it would be, this is a tick box exercise. Why do you have to force an agenda in this way? What's the benefit?
I think I don't think we're forcing an agenda. We just want to see ourselves represented on screen. And also, as well, there are teenagers out there who need to see themselves or their future selves represented as well. And I think, there's lots of socio-political reasons why, but also as well, just because we actually want to be part of the storytelling narrative. Mm-hmm. We've got great stories to be told.
Mm-hmm. Leanne, is there any evidence that lesbians are any less well represented than in any other minority group?
The thing is with lesbians, we do have them in mainstream shows. We do have them in soap, just like we have gay men. But one of the issues really is it's this lack of lesbian-specific TV. So obviously we did have the L Word from 2004, these really kind of glamorised West Hollywood lesbians on screen. The baby sister of the L Word, which was Lip Service, Glasgow-based in 2010. But we don't have very many lesbian-specific shows. We have slightly more featuring gay men. Recently, Cucumber Banana Tofu. There were lesbian characters in that, but the lesbian characters they played much smaller roles, okay? Or they were perhaps on less mainstream TV channels. So we do have that. But actually, building on what Jacquie's saying about this lesbian death cliché, this is really true. We have three dominant trends in lesbian representation. On screen and in film, we have lesbian chic, which is the titillating heteronormative lesbian. Really, it appeals to the mainstream. We have monstrosity, often tied to butchness, to masculinity. And we have erasure or invisibility, where either we have a piece of literature, when this is transformed on screen, the lesbian storyline is erased, or we have death as part of this erasure and invisibility. I would have to say, though, more recently we have normalisation, where actually it is tied to political reality, where we have the bog standard couples. If we think about films such as The Kids Are All Right, where we have these really sort of domestic settings and tired couples, perhaps having an affair, this kind of thing. So we are really seeing normalisation on screen too. However, we need more lesbians, but we need more diversity in general. Ethnicity, ability status, trans subjects, older women, fat bodies.
Yeah, well, we should talk about diversity in the round as well. But Jacquie, is there any evidence of active exclusion, do you think?
Okay, picking up on the point that there is an absolute dearth of lesbian drama. I was in drama development for a lesbian drama about 10 years ago, and at that point, the L Word came onto the British screens, and I was told by a commissioner that the viewing public could only cope with one lesbian drama at a time. They can cope with 8 medical dramas at a time. They can cope with 10 police dramas at a time. So, yes, there is negativity.
Yeah, and so you think that is coming from an assumption on the part of commissioners that the public doesn't want to see too many lesbians?
I think there's a fear. At one point, and it is part of the BBC Charter, certainly part of the Channel 4 remit, to show diversity of gender and sexual life. I used to commission gay and lesbian television for Channel 4, and there was a specific fund and there was a specific slot. It went out on Saturday nights. There was a great audience and there was great marketing. And I don't know how that's kind of been eroded, but I think actually, yeah, it's negativity, and also I think a fear of being bold in terms of narrative these days.
I totally agree. But the thing is, I mean, when we're considering mainstream representation, sort of the larger TV channels, the sort of the films intended for a mainstream audience, really the commercial aspect cannot be ignored. Is it profitable? Will this film put bums on seats? Will people tune into this TV show? And including characters that are considered other, or several characters that are considered other, can be quite a risk. They should take that risk, I think.
Well, we've just had an hour-long conversation about Jeremy Clarkson, and of course the people who would say, you know, that actually the BBC
Clarkson
should
out, lesbians in. This is going to cause some controversy this morning, isn't it?
Loving it.
Jeremy Clarkson.
But, you know, the defence of keeping Jeremy Clarkson would be he's a valuable property. He makes a fortune. So if lesbians don't make money, Jackie, do you have to accept that they're not commercially viable? Did I really say that? But you know what I mean, Jackie?
Yeah, and I think we're kind of, when we're talking about presenters and faces, you know, I think we do have to talk about the lesbian faces that present on BBC that I'm sure are as popular as Jeremy is. I just really wanted to say that I think at one time, BBC, in terms of drama, was spearheading. I think now we have to look to the US. We have to look at VOD, video on demand. We have to look at Netflix, because they're taking the risks that Channel 4 and BBC used to take. And, you know, look at Orange is the New Black. That's massive. Yeah. The new gender bashing drama, that's transformation. They're doing massive numbers. So I think that lesbians do put bombs on seats.
Jackie, outside of dramatic productions, if you like, fictional productions, do you think that there is progress in the kind of wider entertainment arena in terms of women who are lesbian, who are perfectly happy to be out as such?
Yes. And, you know, I'm not asking these women to be defined by their sexuality, but there are big names, there are big faces who are proud and out, as it were, and that's fantastic. I think in terms of reality, you know, you will see in reality shows, you will see lesbians in the Big Brother house or on Come Dine With Me.
And also lesbian-specific reality shows as well, things like The Real L Word in the States or The L Word Mississippi. So we have had lesbian-specific reality shows too.
That's right, but not on British TV.
No, we haven't, and we need one, yeah.
OK. Jackie, it's really interesting stuff. Thank you very much indeed. Jacquie Lawrence, a TV producer, commissioning editor, author of Different for Girls. So she's got to leave us. But Leanne, just a quick final word with you, if you don't mind broadening it out. In terms of different minority groups that might be considered to be part of a diversity package, are they all treated equally?
I think once again it's about this notion of marketability. For example, sometimes the gay man on screen is presented as the gay best friend or potentially the camp queen, and there might be some fears that when the lesbian is on screen, if the lesbian is masculinized, or the lesbian might be sort of tied to feminism, and often that is demonized. So sometimes the gay man is treated in a different way, in a slightly better way with regard to representation, as if that is sometimes less threatening.
Right. But I mean, I'm not just talking about in terms of sexuality, you know, I'm talking about different groups in terms of racial groups, disability.
I think even with that, I think we still get tokenism. So the one black character in a soap, or for example, the one disabled character in Coronation Street. And really we need more of that, because when we have a token character, that token character can't be all things to all people who share an aspect of that identity, you know. So we really need a real breadth.
Okay, lovely. Really interesting stuff. Dr. Leanne Dawson, thank you very much indeed.